Welcome to the Prophecy Club. We are going to talk about several current topics today. Now, here's how I arrived at this. Of course, as you know, they are talking about a hurricane heading for Texas, actually, South Texas. But what came to mind is a dream that was given to Leslie back in 2008 about a series of hurricanes hitting and what it's going to do. And with all the trouble, you see, the unrest, the arguments, the fussing, the fighting over all of this Trump, and then all of the problem over the statues, the Confederate statues and everything, all of this brings more judgment. I want to read this dream from Leslie, but when I went to pull it up, I saw something else, and I thought, you know what? Either I never told about this story on radio. I don't remember telling this story on radio. If I did, it was a long, long time ago, and there's a real important lesson to learn from this, so I'm going to back up to April 2006. I'm going to read this dream given to Leslie. And this one came to pass, as unfortunately I have to say just about all of hers have, and the ones that haven't come to pass, I believe they will. April 2006. I dreamed I was above the city of El Paso, looking down. I noticed the city was in the shape of a bowl. I'd only been to El Paso a few times to visit friends and was never really in a position high enough to see if the city was actually shaped by a bowl. But I saw what seemed to be like a newly built housing area filled with large, new, beautiful homes. Many of them had turquoise, bluish type rooftops. Then I saw a wall of floodwater come pouring into this lower bowl-shaped area. I saw all kinds of floating debris, house rooftops, and dead bodies. Startled by the death and destruction, I looked to see what caused the flood, and I saw that a dam had broken. I believe that this was a warning to El Paso, Texas, that if you have loved ones in the area, you may want to warn them. And so here's what I did. I got up the next morning, and I called El Paso, Texas. And I asked to talk to the folks there that are in charge of the dams. Surely someone has to know about dams, so I asked to talk to this person. And I'm not trying to be funny here, okay? I'm just going to tell you exactly what I said, as best as I can. So I asked to talk to the dam lady. And I said, look, my wife is a prophet. She doesn't play games, and she doesn't miss. And she had a dream that you guys are going to have a dam break, and it's going to flood this downtown area, I guess it is, this area shaped like a bowl, and there's going to be some people killed. So I'm just letting you know if there needs to be anybody that maybe needs to search a dam or inspect a dam or maybe even strengthen a dam or what. So I'm just letting you know. And the lady said, well, I don't think we have any problem because there's only one dam in the area, and it's real strong, and blah, blah, blah. The next one is like 60 miles away. I said, okay, all right, fine, write my name and my number down, but you guys might want to start praying. It's not a joke. She doesn't miss. Well, probably about 6 months later, guess what? Here comes lots and lots of rain, back to back to back to back. And here it is on the news. El Paso is really afraid because there's an old mud, just an earthen dam, and they're afraid that it might be breaking. And if it breaks, it's going to flood the downtown area. So I called the dam lady back, and I said, do you remember? I called you. I've got your name, your phone number written down here. Do you remember I called you? She says, oh, yes. Yes, as a matter of fact, we've been thinking about that. And I said, you remember I told you that this was coming? She says, yes, as a matter of fact, I do. And I said, I don't know exactly what the solution is, but you guys better get to praying down there. And she started to hand me over to talk to the mayor of the city, but at the time he was busy, and she says, all right, I will tell the mayor about this. Well, sure enough, that night, On the news, the mayor got on TV and asked for the city of El Paso, Texas to pray, and the dam did not break. Consequently, no one was killed. Now, I'll let you know because not all prophecies are intended to come to pass. Many of them are warnings, like in this case, if you don't pray, this is going to happen. And I'm going to give you some warnings like that today. If we don't pray, lots of bad things can happen, and we are continually praying that President Trump will be protected. Now, let me just play for you a little clip, and then we're going to talk about it. This was on Fox News just this morning.
Left-wing violence is on the rise, and our next guest says if it does not stop now, it's going to get deadly and it's going to get dangerous. In her new op-ed, contributor for The Hill, Kristen Tate warns that State Senator Maria Chappelle Nadal was hoping for the president to be assassinated. That's what she said originally, then took it down. Her remarks are just the tip of the left-wing meltdown that is turning into real and worsening violence. Words have consequences and often become action. For many anti-Trump groups, there is just a sliver of restraint keeping them from outright murder. How long until such violence escalates into a storm we cannot stop? Tell that to Steve Scalise. Kristen Tate joins us right now, contributor for The Hill and author of Government Gone Wild. Kristen, you're really concerned about this.
Yeah, I'm very concerned. This state senator who said that she hopes that Trump is assassinated is not an outlier. You know, this kind of violence-inciting, hateful rhetoric is really becoming the norm on the left and in pop culture. I mean, witness Madonna saying that she fantasizes about blowing up the White House, Kathy Griffin proudly displaying Trump's decapitated head, and actors in Central Park glorifying Trump's murder. Meanwhile, we have 30 GOP members of Congress who have received violent threats during recent months. There is a permissive culture of violence that is really kind of exploding on the left. And as time goes on, this kind of rhetoric and behavior becomes normalized and it escalates. And I'm worried that this kind of rhetoric, the logical extension of that, is real violence. And frankly, we're already starting to see real violence happen.
Right. Remember that Bernie Sporter opened up fire at the softball game, and then you got Gabby Giffords get shot by some lunatic in Arizona. Carl Van Koswitz once wrote that war is a continuation of politics by other means. Antifa isn't ready for war, but they seem to think they are. You're worried about that organization?
Absolutely. And these left-wing protesters all around the nation explode into violence every time a conservative speaker comes to a campus or every time President Trump gives an address or a rally. It is despicable, and these rioters are full of hate and violence. And it's the narrative on the left that has transformed the Democratic base into this kind of angry, violent mob that has no message and still can't accept that Donald Trump is president. So I'm worried that this is going to get a lot worse. Political tensions in this country is coming to a boiling point, and the violent rhetoric coming from the left, it's reaching new heights. And the media is only fanning the flames and making the divides in this country worse. Instead of trying to bring people together, they continuously distort what Trump says, trying to make his comments seem as insensitive as possible, and that really does this country a disservice, and it can lead to violence as well. And the media is only fanning the flames and making the divides in this country worse. Instead of trying to bring people together, they continuously distort what Trump says, trying to make his comments seem as insensitive as possible, and that really does this country a disservice, and it can lead to violence as well. And the media is only fanning the flames and making the divides in this country worse. Instead of trying to bring people together, they continuously distort what Trump says, trying to make his comments seem as insensitive as possible, and that really does this country a disservice, and it can lead to violence as well.
Now, I played that last clip several times because I want you to notice that this is someone else saying that they believe we are coming to civil war or an internal revolution. They didn't exactly use those words, but it could be construed that way. So I played that part twice. Also, we have to notice that this is a senator that was calling for the assassination of our president. So that's a couple of things we need to pray for. If you're not part of the Fast Track team, go to prophecyclub.com, sign up. We ask you to fast Tuesday evening from midnight to Wednesday afternoon at 4 p.m. and you can still drink juice or whatever like that, and you can quit anytime you want to. And you don't have to do our kind of fast. It's just that that's what we ask you to do, and we also give you a list of things we'd like for you to pray for. And on that day, we ask you not to be praying for everybody else and every other thing out there, but to, on that day, just pray for just the things that we ask you to pray for. The point is, we're trying to get a lot of people to have the same fast, the same prayer, the same day, you see. So if we pray for all kinds of things that, well, muddies the spiritual water, you might say. But one of the things we ask people to pray for is the protection of our president as well as other righteous leaders across our nation. And we specifically pray for some things that we don't want to have to come to pass. Now, a couple of things I have to say. I watched the entire Trump talk down in Phoenix. And I love Trump, and I hope he calls me real soon so that I can give him some biblical prophetic advice. But I am concerned. If he were to call me, I would say, Donald, I understand attacking the media when you're a candidate. I understand. I don't understand attacking the media when you're the president of the United States. Yes, they're bad actors, and they are not going to go away, but all you're doing is throwing gasoline on the fire by continuing to attack them. At this point, as president, you've already won the greatest battle. Maybe what you should do at this point is ignore them and let them continue to help get out your message. Because when you start attacking them and telling them that Fox News is your preferred network, they turn their cameras off and you don't get your message out, you see. So stop acting like a candidate sometimes. Always continue to act like a president, and of course he can do that. Now, what do I think is happening? I think that we are in the process of the internal revolution. As I said the other day, and please, I'm not trying to change the words of a prophet. I'm simply asking you, could this be? So, to make my point, let me continue to remind you what the Angel Gabriel spoke to Dmitri Duduman concerning the fall of America. And then we're going to discuss that. I'm going to bring in some other information about it. The fall of America will start with an internal revolution in America started by the communists. Some of the people will start fighting against the government. The government will be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, Russia, Cuba, Nicaragua, Central America, Mexico, and two other countries, which I cannot remember, will attack. The Russians will bombard the nuclear missile silos, as in where they're stored, and America will burn. Now, could it be that if God were to have given us more details of exactly what would happen, could it be that these might be the details? Now, please, I'm not trying to change the words of the prophet. I'm trying to simply say, could we be that close? Okay? The fall of America will start with an internal revolution in Charlottesville, Virginia, started by the communist media such as CNN, NBC, ABC, MSNBC, and others. Some of the alt-left, Antifa, I think they say Antifa, seeking to remove Confederate statues will start fighting against the government of Donald Trump. President Trump will be busy with internal problems. Then from the oceans, you see what I'm saying? I'm trying to make a point that the internal revolution that was first spoken of in, actually, I guess it was 1980 when God spoke to Dmitri and said he's sending him to America to give them a message. But then in 1984 was what he gave more of the message. So the judgment on America was first pronounced in 1980. And if America is only, please hear the word if America is only given 40 years to repent, such as Nineveh was given 40 days, but they repented. God gave them 40 years. 40 is the number of judgment. It rained day and night for 40 days. Okay, 40 days and 40 nights. So if America has been given 40 years, and if we are in the 37th year, then we may only have 3 years left. If that's true, then the three snakebite dream that was given to Michael Boldea, the first one was 9/11, the second one's going to come from an unusual area, and the third one is our destruction. So it may very well be that what we're about to move into is the second snake bite. In other words, it's about to be a catastrophe. Let me remind you, the headlines that were spoken to Leslie, these are audible voices that came to her. I'm going to give you now the order that they were given to her in. I've had some requests on that. January 22 of 06, Israel refuses help to America. Catastrophe hits America. Omer ushers in Palestinian state. One of America's greatest times of need. Israel's attacked. America sends troops. Chaos reigns as Americans protest help to Israel. Then she heard my voice quoting Dimitri Duduman, the fall of America will start with an internal revolution. Now, what I want to call your attention to is catastrophe hits America. I think that there's a strong possibility that all of this fussing and fighting over these Confederate statues and over Trump becoming president and all of the communist media, all of this is bringing anger into the spirit. And, of course, now with the lady being run down by the car, we now have blood. Okay, so there has been blood shed in this internal revolution. And I think it is becoming increasingly difficult for us to not admit that the internal revolution, first spoken in 1984 to Dimitri Duduman, has started. It's going to be increasingly difficult to say that's not started. So let me go to the next point that I want to make. As I mentioned, there is a hurricane heading to South Texas. At least that's what the models are projecting. But we have seen hurricanes turn before. So let me remind you, September 10th, 2008, Leslie was given a dream. The dream started off with major traffic problems. People were leaving Mexico like rats leaving a sinking ship. People were even driving on the wrong side of the road heading north into America. They were using both north and southbound lanes to flee. Some were racing around two-lane twisting mountainous roads in both lanes. Horns blaring and honking, people were frantic. Chaos everywhere. I was in a room high above looking down. I saw a dark-skinned man with an accent making sexual advances toward a woman. There was total chaos. Some people were breaking into hotels through windows, stealing money, personal items from hotel guests. I saw several hurricanes hitting northern Mexico and southern Texas, one right after another, like frisbees thrown one after another. From the air, they looked like giant gray circular stepping stones, thrown one after another against the shores of Mexico, slightly hitting extreme South Texas, but mainly hitting Mexico. I saw thousands of people leaving Mexico in cars and school buses, pouring into the United States. There were so many pushing their way into the United States that the authorities could not stop them. People were leaving the devastation in Mexico and forcing their way into America by the thousands. Now, the question we have to ask ourselves, could it be that all of this trouble, this fussing and fighting and killing one another in the streets of America is bringing on the second snake bite, the second attack, the second judgment before the final judgment? Let me turn to Jeremiah 51, verse 12. We'll start there. It says, set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon. Now, that's talking about Babylon as America. Now, when the Bible says set up the standard, it is judgment is coming. This is God holding up his laws, and he's pointing to a nation, and he's saying, I'm measuring you according to my laws. This is what he does before a nation is judged. And when they're judged, that normally means something really bad happens to them. And in most cases, it means they fall. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon. Make the watch strong. Set up the watchmen. Prepare the ambushes. Now, what's an ambush? That's when an animal goes back and forth between the water source and the food source, and the water source and the food source, and he goes up and down this trail every day. And yesterday, last week, last month, last year, it was safe going up and down this trail. Only this time, the trapper has laid an ambush. meaning that what we did yesterday was fine, but what we do today gets us caught in a trap. Notice he says, make the watch strong, means that make certain this happens. This is the hand of the Lord. Set up the watchmen, prepare the ambushes, for the Lord hath both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon, America. O thou that dwellest upon many waters, that's America, abundant in treasures, that's America. Thine end is come, and the measure of thy covetousness. Covetous means you can never get enough, and that's America. Even though we have nice houses, nice cars, even though we have big bank accounts, one thing's true of every American: they're always looking for the next almighty dollar. Verse 14. The Lord of hosts has sworn by himself, saying, listen, 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 surely I will fill thee with men as with caterpillars, and they shall lift up a shout against thee. Now, could it be that because of our fussing and fighting here in America, that this hurricane that is forming out in the Gulf, even as I speak, and while they say it's heading to South Texas and only Category 3, we have to ask ourselves, with this fussing and fighting, is this going to go away? Could it be that this hurricane gains strength? Could it be that it turns, and could it be that it hits Mexico? And could it be that there's another one right after that, like Frisbees, and all of a sudden America is filled with people leaving Mexico as the dream said? And well, now, I don't know, but I can tell you one thing, we better be praying against it. That's why I'm asking you to join our fast track team. Yes, I know you pray against things like this, but like I said to someone in our congregation the other day, I said, well, just because you're praying for it doesn't necessarily mean that it has all the strength that it could have. You need to be on our fast track team. That way, your prayer, and he was praying about the same thing that our fast track team prays. That way, your prayer is more powerful when it is fasted and when you're doing the same prayer as some 800 people on the same day. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let a thing be established. 1 can make 1,000 to flight. 2 can make 10,000 to flight. So your prayer is more powerful when it is sent up to heaven, along with many of your other brothers and sisters that are fasting the same fast and the same prayer. Now, let me make a couple of more points here. North Korea has just come up with another threat. They have now released a picture of Guam becoming a graveyard cluttered with crosses in a photoshopped image of President Trump looking over this. Now, you know, this North Korea just continues to threaten. Now, another thing that bothers me is Genesis 1:14 says, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night. Let them be for signs, seasons, for days and years. So, we just saw an eclipse go across our nation. If you look at a no smoking sign, you see a picture of a cigarette with a red circle and a line going from the top left to the bottom right. And as I look at a picture of the United States and the totality path of the eclipse of the sun, it started top left up in Salem, and it went down to bottom right just north of Florida. Meaning, if the eclipse said anything, and I didn't hear any proven prophet said it said anything, but if it is saying anything, my guess would be it's saying that America has been weighed in the balances and has been found wanting. And it may very well be that it's saying God is turning his back, meaning the darkness, on America, and has measured her and decided that judgment is time to hit. And then all of a sudden, as we have this eclipse hit, we have our statues. Some of them 100, 150 years old. They want to tear them down. Okay, fine, yes, this person had slaves. Well, the truth is the person that is in that statue, whatever their name is, also did some other things wrong. because all of us have sinned. No, not one. Okay, everyone has sinned except Jesus, and they nailed him to a cross. So, are we going to tear down all of those Confederate statues to what at the people at the time considered them to be heroes? Are we going to tear those down because they did something wrong, because they had slaves? Well, they did other things wrong too. And by the way, I've done things wrong and you've done things wrong. That's why the blood of Jesus is there. As I've said before, I don't think that it's really because they had slaves. What it really is communists that are attacking our Christian foundations. They're really trying to destroy America. And this, my friends, brothers and sisters, may very well be the thing that could bring this nation down to its knees. I got this email that says the Nazi Party burned books. Well, we haven't seen any burning books in America yet. And destroyed statues. Violently oppose free speech. We've seen statues destroyed. We've seen people violently opposing free speech. Nazi Party also smashed windows of businesses, euthanized babies, not ideal, used a mob to intimidate opposition. Does that sound familiar? I'm saying, brothers and sisters, that there's a lot while the stock market goes up. And by the way, I have to tell you that the elite friend of Lindsey Williams, if you haven't got his most recent DVD, you need to get it. But one of the primary things in that DVD, and I'm going to give away a little secret here, says that the elite are planning to continue to pump money into the stock market. It's going to go up, according to Lindsey Williams, up, and up, until such time as the elite decide it's the right time to crash the market. Then they're going to make certain that this stock market looks like a cakewalk compared to the 1929 stock market crash. And no matter what Trump does, no matter what Trump says, the market continues to go up, just like the elite have planned. What I'm saying, brothers and sisters, is while it looks okay, it looks like there's peace and safety, don't believe it. I believe that because of the blood that has already been shed in America over this internal revolution, we already have some people fighting against the government of Donald Trump. I think that the internal revolution may have started, and we can expect the second snake bite any month now, maybe even within a year or two. Who knows? Maybe tomorrow. What I'm saying is, brothers and sisters, we got to start fasting and praying. Go to prophecyclub.com. Join our fast track team. And by the way, it is still summertime. We do still struggle. We could use your prayers and your donations. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your prayers. And yeah, thank you for your gifts of support. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. The Extreme Summer Blowout is now in effect. You could get 50 DVDs for $250, that's $5 each. 25 for $160, that's $6.40 each. 15 for $120, that's $8 each. 10 for $100, obviously $10 each. 6 for $70. 4 for $50, and 2 for $30. You can go to prophecyclub.com. There's a list of all the DVDs there, or you can call us and ask for the summer catalog, or download the catalog at prophecyclub.com. Flip through it, then decide which DVDs you want. That's 785-266-1112, and it expires soon. Call 785-266-1112 today. Some restrictions apply. The number one killer in most emergency events, surprisingly, is drinking contaminated water. Being able to scoop water out of the puddle and filter it may save your life. I drink all of my water filtered through a Crown Berkey. Now, it's a gravity filter filtering down to virus levels. Contaminated water in the top gives you drinking water out the bottom. It's what the missionaries use. There are 7 Berkey options from 1 to 8 filters. Order them at prophecyclub.com. Be sure and order 2 to 4 extra black filters as backup. That's prophecyclub.com or 785-266-1112. Berkey Water Filters.